الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. Respectful friends, continuing with the topic of dua, and especially from the point wherein we diverted a little, or the topic had changed a little, with regards to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts du'as. And the fact that all du'as are guaranteed to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just the manner in which du'as are accepted is something that we may not fully grasp or fully understand. But yes, for sure, all du'as are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One manner in which du'as are accepted, as mentioned previously, is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us whatever our wish is, whatever we ask for from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala grants that to us. That form of acceptance is one that we can understand, or we will relate to, and we will know, or we will feel, perceive that, okay, my dua has been accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So dua is accepted in such a manner. The other manner in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our duas is, and that's why it's important that we are aware of this, we know this, so that we never complain, and that we are always content and happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decisions for us. And that is the Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that the dua that we make here, that Allah ta'ala does not accept for us here in this world, that becomes a treasure for a person in the hereafter. And how it becomes a treasure in the hereafter is, it just shows that look how Kareem Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times accepts our du'as, at all times gives us. That here the dua was not accepted. Why it was not accepted? Because what we were asking for was not, or is not what is best, that Allah ta'ala, from Allah ta'ala's knowledge. It isn't what is best for us. For that reason, Allah ta'ala does not give it to us. So the fact that Allah ta'ala doesn't give it to us itself is a great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just imagine if Allah ta'ala accepted every dua of ours, and that would include as well many wrong decisions that we may have made, wrong choices we have made. We ask that from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah ta'ala granted that. So all the time we would then be complaining that why does Allah ta'ala accept all my du'as? Then we'll be making that complaint, isn't it? That if only Allah ta'ala did accept that dua of mine, and why does every wish of mine have to be granted? So there we will be thinking such, and we will be making such dua. So this is also a bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala doesn't accept every dua of ours, only that which Allah ta'ala knows from His wisdom is best for us is granted to us here immediately. The other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stores for us in the hereafter. That on the day of Qiyamah, when a person will be granted his deeds, and his deeds presented to him, and he will find that these are all the deeds, the reward for the deeds that he has done. Along with that, he'll find a huge pile of deeds or rewards which he cannot relate to. That for which deeds are these for? What actions, what good deeds have I done that Allah has given me this ajr for? And in another riwayat it is mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will actually call a person, and Allah ta'ala will address that person and say to him that, do you remember you made such and such and such and such a dua? He will say yes. And do you remember that these dua were accepted? He will say yes, and Allah, you accepted my duas. Then Allah Ta'ala will remind him that, do you remember so and so dua that you made which was not accepted? Did he say yes? That is true. There's those duas which are not accepted. That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will then show him a whole pile, a heap of rewards in lieu of those duas which were not accepted here. In this way, which means that the du'as which are not accepted here, Allah does not grant. Acceptance is accepted all the time. Not granted, we will say rather. The word accepted, that which are not granted here in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants it to us in the hereafter in the form of reward. And that's when our servant will see a whole load of rewards there, not knowing where it's come from, and it will be told to him that this reward is for all the du'as that you made which were unanswered here in this world. And when he will see that reward, the believer, which believer? The same one who here was wondering that why my du'as are not being granted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same servant then on that day when he sees that reward will say, if only none of my du'as in this world were accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I have much more in the hereafter. Why? Because the hereafter is where it matters the most. Here is granted to us whatever we ask for. If Allah grants it to us, fine, we'll be happy with it. But how long are we going to live with those bounties of Allah Ta'ala? How long are we going to live with whatever Allah grants us here in this world? Will we have it? Will we enjoy it as well? The nice car, house, business, property, clothing, good health, wealth, whatever we ask for from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala grants it to us. And when Allah Ta'ala will grant it to us as well, but how long? There is no guarantee how long we're going to live in this world, my dear friends. How long? We're going to live in this world, no guarantee. And when as well, no guarantee. Kab, which age? Kuch bhi nahi. We just came from a janaza. A neighbor of ours, Marhum Bhai Muhammad Azam, mechanic. Fine, nothing of very old age or anything of that. Somebody who's already old age and that. Usually here for Jummah, this Jummah I noticed that he wasn't here for Jummah. Because people who you see Jummah, you notice as well, he always sits on the chair, so you notice, and he comes a bit early, so he's listening to the bayan, so you notice he wasn't here for Jummah. Then over the weekend, his son came to mention and make dua. He's not well and he's at the hospital, he had a heart attack. In actual fact, and see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works as well. He's a mechanic. He was at work and he dropped a spanner on his foot. So he went to the hospital to get that checked out. He went to the hospital to get that checked out. So the routines of okay, he's hurt his foot and so. In that whatever process they went through and they checked it or so, somehow they diagnosed that look, he has a heart issue. And they admitted him, saying that he needs a pacemaker put in. First they did the stent and put that in. That didn't make much of a difference. Then they decided that look, they need to do some temporary operation, and then the following day, Monday or Tuesday was case of, and another heart attack in waiting for the pacemaker to be put in. Pacemaker was put in, and bit of a difference, but not so much difference or so. It seems the damage had been done. Because these are all just the asbab for maut to come anyway. And today, this morning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him to him. So, in matter of just few days, what is a person has old age, any time now, or a person is suffering from illness for a while now. So this is a person who find, and then all of a sudden Friday this incident occurred or so, and from there to hospital to where, in matter of few days, and what do we find? We find the person has departed, left this world. Teenage sons as well. And this is not just one individual. The Kawasan people mentioned that 3 janazas just today, just around us. Just around us, 3 janazas in one day. So St. Cliff some days, Healy as well. So all these janazas are imdat for us. They are all lessons for us. Lessons wherein, as I mentioned to you, there are those who do pass away in old age, where you can say that they have completed the cycle of life now. You're not expecting that they're going to live so longer now, because they've come into old age now. So a person expects that. You expect that from this age now, each day is going to be a bonus. So that is something that's expected. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us so many mayyats of people who maybe we were not expecting, or of such an age where you were not expecting that this is that old age which you regard when now a person is towards the last. Or this is imdat for us, lessons for us. Lessons for us, my dear friends. There's the same mayyat, and this was in my mind as well, the same mayyat who you leave there and you bury there in the Qabristan. didn't know beforehand that, look, in a matter of days, this is where I am going to be. And we have left that person there. We don't know how many days we have left or when it's going to be our turn. No Mayyit has that known beforehand that, look, in a matter of days, this is where I am going to be as well. Nobody thinks such at all. But now we are still here and we are talking about that individual that, look, they didn't know. Tomorrow people will be talking about us that, look, they were with us and now they're not with us. They were with us and now they're not with us. And we will have so many examples. I mentioned with Haji Bashir also a couple of days ago. So like this, we have Muslims in the masjid, people who you should remember seeing and now you do not see them at all. Khair, they are now and this is a hope that we have, in a much better place. Because they are no longer with us, people like us, but they are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But a person needs to do something for the hereafter as well. You need to do something for the hereafter as well. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala saw that there was a tent had been put over the grave of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu ta'ala. Somebody had gone and put a tent over it on his cover. And Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala said, yes, and Ibn Umar, one of the two, that take it off. Yuzilluhu a'maluhu. He doesn't need a tent to give him shade. His amal will give him shade in the grave. His amal will give him shade in the grave. Means that whatever you put on top of the grave, that's going to come of no use to anybody at all within the grave. It is what we take with us in the grave. And the only valid thing that's going to help us that we take within the grave is going to be our amal. And why I say this is because the mayyit can take other things as well. Alhamdulillah, our deen in Islam, the mayyit goes only with the kafan on. But you do not know the way we are going now, as we are copycatting, copy and pasting, and following the trend and ways of those who are not Muslims. Even what we go with in the grave might start changing soon. As non-Muslims, when they are put into the grave, they go what? They go dressed up in the grave. They go dressed up. And some of them are dressed up so fancy that while they were living as well, they probably didn't have such an expensive suit that they wore, which is worn and given or put on them when they're put into the grave. That is what they go with in the grave. And various other items of importance or attachment to that individual may be put in the grave as well. None of that is of any avail because there is no iman. Alhamdulillah, up till now, at least we because we maybe don't have so much control over the grave because there will be others who then is sorting around. Our case is this is just a kafan, simple kafan that we go with, which is what this is ibrat. This is the sign for us to take heed that what, look, you came empty-handed and you're going to go empty-handed as well. And in order to keep the honor and respect of the mayyit, you won't send the mayyit in the grave without anything on. So you have the kafan on, so the kafan at least shows, the covers the honor of the mayyit. But the rest is what to show that, look, there's nothing else at all of this dunya that you take in with as well. Not even a single pin, that you take a safety pin and tie that as well in the grave. And the knots that are tied to keep the mayyit, the kafan, even those are opened up. So nothing at all you take it with you in the grave. That's how you're going. You came empty-handed, you're going empty-handed. The only thing you're going to take with you is the amal that you did while you were alive. That's what you're going to take with you. That's why it's very important. We don't know when life will come to an end. What is it that we wait for in order to change our lives? And we know that there are so many things that we need to rectify, there are so many things that we need to change in our lives. When we could do those? A person is a youth in the young age and they are assuming what is assuming and they thinking that I've got till old age until I become an old man, old woman. Till then death is not going to come anywhere near me. How many youth, how many youngsters die before us? And the fact that a person has become mature and is baligh, now becomes mukallaf upon all the ahkam of deen and sharia, which means from the age of bulugh now, if you have not read your salat, if you have not fasted the month of Ramadhan, if you have not carried out those farais, then you're going to be questioned with regard to Shariat now has become incumbent upon you. You need to now follow the deen and Shariat. any lacking in that department, any deficiencies in that department, now you're going to be held questionable for that the moment that you enter into maturity. And death doesn't come with such a label on it, or it's not manufactured in such a way that it only comes to the elderly or to the ill. Those who are healthy as well, those who are young, it will come to everybody. People who are healthy as well, you hear people who are healthy, nothing at all, and suddenly death comes their way as well. Whether in this the form of death, nothing at all, and they collapse and pass away. And an incident happens, accident happens, something or the other may happen that leads towards the death of an individual. So it is what we take with us in the grave, inside with us, and the only thing we're going to take with us in the grave is our amal. That's why, my dear friends. And Wakhidan, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam has actually given us targheeb that to go to the Qabristan. To go to the Qabristan. Zuru kuburakum. Go to the Qabristan. Do ziyarat of the Qabristan. And why Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that is so that at least by us going there, we can, one is to benefit the marhumeen, those who are deceased there, that will read for them at least. So they will benefit from us coming. And the other is so that we take ibrat as well. That just the way we see beautiful houses, buildings, and we get tempted towards those things. We go tourists, we go visiting, touring, we go to the shopping malls, and we see all these things which are nothing but dunya. This is one place which is supposed to remind us of the akhirah, to remind us that look, you have all these different places. In all those that you're visiting, and that look, this is also a place that you need to visit, and by visiting this place, it should do what? It should bring you down to earth. To show you that this is where you're going to go into the earth. It will remind you of the reality. Whenever you become so engrossed in dunya, go to the Qabristan, that will remind you as well that look, at the end, no matter how beautiful and how lavish house you may have built, for which you spent your entire life sweating away for and slogging away for, just so that you have this beautiful house. And in doing so, you gave no regard as regards to the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No time for your ibadat to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You never paid zakat at all because you fear that you won't be able to build or buy this house of yours. At the end, you're not going to die in that house. You're not going to remain in that house forever. Even if you die in that house, this is where you're all going to go. And everybody's plot there is exactly the same. The one who lived in a hut, and that person who lived in a palace, at the end, the qabr is going to be exactly the same. The soil is the same, the qabr and everything, the qabristan is the same. There's no exclusive sections in Dudha Qabristan. This is a VIP executive, or this is for this and that people, you book your plot accordingly, according to your social standings and that. No. Every person is going to be buried in the same plot, in the same qabristan, the same sun, the same soil, in the same manner. But it is what we take with us that matters. And I was mentioning the Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that look, do ziyarat of the Qabristan. But nowadays you go to the Qabristan, you come back even sad from there. You come back depressed and sad from there, the state of what we have made our Qabristan. The state of what we have made our Qabristan. And this just shows that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned that believers, mu'min will change in such a manner that whatever we see others doing, that even if they fall in one hole and go down one hole, we'll go down the same hole as well. To that extent that we go beyond that which non-Muslims do as well. You go to the non-Muslims' graveyard, even they will not have as much decoration on top of the graves as we have on our graves. Whereas there is no such thing for us at all. As I mentioned, for them, they will do this decoration of the mayyit in the grave and decoration on top of the grave. But even the decoration over there will just be the tombstone. And maybe the odd bunch of flowers will be put there, if they even have somebody to come and put those flowers. That's all you will find, and not much than that. Go to the Qabristan, and you think, is this a Qabristan or is it some botanical gardens or something? The amount of flowers that are put there, bouquets that are put there, that a person just cannot understand. They look as mu'min, where how our understanding has changed so much, that how come simple things, that even the Qabristan is not giving us a lesson to us, that even there we're not even leaving free from these type of fitna. And then each grave you look at covered with all sorts of flowers and decorations and solar lights and whatnot. And the chant of the whole bouquet, flower sets there as well. Today one janaza, just near to the Mayyit's janaza, is a whole long thing, you just realize it's a sister. So you have those which is mom, and somebody mentioned a couple of years ago that maybe 30 pounds or so. So maybe for 3 letters it might be 30 pounds. For granddad, grandma, or grandson, more the letters, probably the price of that will be even more. So somebody's sister, somebody's this, somebody's that, and that the flower is being put there on the graves. Is the mayyit going to benefit from this? The mayyit is not going to benefit from it at all. Before I go on this topic, once something else Allah Ta'ala just put in the heart to make mention to you as well. In a hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala mentions that in al-mayyita yu'adharu bi buka'i ba'di ahlihi, that the mayyit in the grave is punished because of the crying of some of his family members. That because of the crying of the family members, the mayyit will get azab in the grave. Bibadi bukai baz. What does this mean? Because on one side, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam has prohibited noha. Noha means where you're wailing and crying and screaming and these type of things. These have been prohibited. But general crying for the mayyit, that isn't something that is prohibited. But here Nabi Kareem sallallahu mentioned that the crying, the family members cry for the mayyit gets azab for it in the qabr. The understanding of this is that it is not all the time and not all crying for the mayyit which will bring azab to the mayyit. It is that crying which is this customary noha that takes place. That if the mayyit did not make a wasiyat, the mayyit did not explain and tell the family members that look, after my demise, I do not want this type of noha. Noha means of jahiliyyat, the incorrect form of impermissible form of crying and wailing and that. If they did not make this request, or if they themselves were involved in such type of practices and customs, due to which their family members continue doing the same, by them doing that, the mayyit will get azab for it in the qabr. Although the mayyit isn't doing anything, and you will say, well, it's not the mayyit's fault, it's the family members who are doing these type of things. It's the mayyit's family members who are doing all the impermissible khatams and that take place. So it is, and the other customs that we involved in. So it is they who are doing, not the mayyit. But the fact that mayyit himself or herself was part of that, was themselves doing that as well, or was encouraging that, or never stopped and prevented their families from doing that, they will get the azab for it in the grave as well. Which means here as well. Which means here as well. It means what? That if we do not prevent our families from decorating our graves in such a manner, and if they do such, we will get the azab for it in the grave as well. We will be part of it as well. We were doing that, we ourselves were the ones who purchased and ordered and got these flowers to somebody else. Our family saw us doing that, so they doing the same for us, we will get the azab of it in the grave. Why? Because these are such things which are no use at all, not helpful at all, no benefit whatsoever to who's the mayyit. Rather, as I mentioned to you, it will bring azab upon the mayyit. Because these are those things that we have been prohibited from. As-salatu nurun, instead of putting those lights on top of the grave, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned as-salatu nur, salat is nur. Have salat in your life, and that will be what nur for you in the grave. As here it was told that this tent will not bring shade upon the mayyit. It is the amal that will bring shade, meaning that will make the grave cool for an individual. Will either make that a section of the garden of Jannah, or it will make it what, a pit of the fire of Jahannam. But our amal, it is our amal that will determine that, and not what we do on top. All those decorations that we put on top of the grave is not going to bring any comfort to the mayyit inside the grave whatsoever, but it will be in the contrary. So let us understand these things, that if we want to do something for the mayyit, I mean, who are we doing it for? Are we just doing it for those who are on top of the earth? For those who are walking, looking, and will see that, okay, this is so and so mayyit, oh mashallah, their family had so much love for them, that the grandchildren loved their granddad so much that they put granddad flowers there. And they bichara, they don't love the thing, plain grave. Is that what we're doing for? To show that, look, we loved our granddad so much that we put that flowers there. We loved our sister so much that we put the flowers there, of sister or brother there, or mom, dad there, that we had so much love for mom and dad. Is that why we're doing that for? What is it we're doing for? Because the one in the grave can't see those flowers, that you can say, okay, the mayyit can see, the mayyit will see that and become, please God, there's some flowers on my grave. Let me enjoy those flowers. They're not going to be able to smell the flowers because they're fake flowers anyway. So that's not going to be of any use to them inside the grave. It's only those who are on top of the grave. And those on top of the grave, if they're going to become happy, oh mashallah, these nice flowers here, these flowers look good. Is that happiness of the person on top of the grave going to help the one within the grave? Not at all. So we're doing things for who? The one who needs our help is the one who is in the grave. They are the ones who need to smell what? They need to smell the fragrance of Jannah. And they will only smell the fragrance of Jannah if their deeds are good itself. And if they fail themselves in that department, then at least we, as their heirs and their associates, their families and their colleagues and their neighbors and relatives, we are the ones who can at least help them out by doing good deeds for them, by doing isal sawab for them, by doing sadaqah jariyah for them. That is what will help them there in the grave. That is something that we can do for them, so that we can at least make a difference, change things for them in the grave, if that is the condition that they are in. And if alhamdulillah they are already in a good position, then whatever good and making we do here for them, that will lead towards the more elevation in their ranks. So we can benefit them in this manner, which means instead of spending whatever money we spend, 30, 40, 50 pounds, it won't be cheap at all, on buying those flowers. We give that in sadaqah for the marhum. The marhum will get the benefit of it. The marhum will get the benefit of it. Spend your money where you're supposed to spend your money. And when there is appeal, people are told you, give sadaqah here, give there, do this, do that for the sake of the mayyit, for the sake of the mayyit, and then that doesn't make sense to us. We don't want to give that. But for these type of things, we're very happy to do these type of decorations and that. Putting those lights there, who will put in those lights for? The Qabristan has enough public lights for those who visit the Qabristan. The mayyit doesn't need those lights, because those lights are not going to shine within the grave. So what is it there for? And that amount of money we pay for those lights as well. It's not just one, but it's minimum will be 4 on all edges, and there'll be those who put even more as well. That amount of money, even if it is even cheap as well, it's only cheap, it didn't cost much as well. That even that 1 pound, so 2 pounds, 3 pounds, or even that I put into sadaqah will be multiplied by Allah Ta'ala, and that will be reward for the marhum in the grave. That will please the marhum in the grave. The marhum will be pleased that my son, my daughter, my grandson, my granddaughter, my brother, my sister has helped me and done something good for me. They'll become pleased with that. You go and put a 30, 40, 50 pound bouquet there onto the grave. The mayyat will turn in the grave saying, what's wrong with you? Just give that in sadaqah. If you had given that in sadaqah, I would have benefited from it. They would benefit from it. Better than you is that stranger who walks in the Qabristan and just reads Surah Ikhlas 3 times and gives that as Isali Sawab for all the Murhumin who are there. That is a total stranger who doesn't even know you who you are in the grave. But they've at least recited 3 times or done any recitation and sent that to you. They've been more beneficial to the marhum there, to the mayyat, than own family members who are decorating their graves in such a manner and thinking that they've achieved something, or they're doing so much, or they are expressing and showing their love for the mayyat. You're not showing your love for the mayyat, you're not helping the mayyat at all. And if you want to do these type of things, you're not sure whether you should be doing these type of things, we consult with the ulama, ask the ulama, that is it permissible or not for me to do these type of things? Should I put lights there or not? Should I put any other flowers there or not? Should I put a bush there or not? Should I be putting any bouquets there or not? Or should I be putting card there or not? Or should I be putting a teddy bear there or not? Children. And their graves, you see, there's a teddy bear. There's toys there. It shows that where is our akal? Is the child going to come out of the grave and start playing with those toys? The child is not going to come out of the grave. The child does come out of the grave. As it is, you're scared to go to the Qabristan, there's ghosts there. And he's going to come out and play with it, and all the more you could be frightened. Unless you believe the child is going to come out. So the child is not, and you find a Muslim grave, but non-Muslims, there's toys there. There's teddy bears there. There's cards there. These are things that non-Muslims do, these type of things, and they go and put the cards there, and whatever, as they express their griefs and their customs, in this customary manner. We as Muslims, we have our way, and we have our understanding that one card itself is going to cost you a few pounds. Again, put that in sadaqah. Who's going to read it? Mayyit is not going to read all those beautiful, nice words that are written on that card there. The Mayyit is not going to read that at all. The Mayyit is not going to benefit from that. Allah Ta'ala is not going to say, "Chalo, your family brought a really nice card and put that on their grave. So nice words, Allah, but that's not going to happen. The family came there and recited some nice words, some few surahs of the Quran, some nice du'as they made. That will be related to the Mayyat. That your family came and recited these words. Made these du'as for you. Chalo, on that Allah Ta'ala will forgive or grant some respite to the Mayyat in the grave, benefit to the Mayyat in the grave. These things are not going to. And the fear that I have is that the moment these toys and flowers are put on top of the grave, who knows later on, Allah save us from this, we go beyond that and we start putting the toys as well with the child in the grave. We start putting these things within the grave as we see non-Muslims doing that. Mom really loved this dress of hers, or she was really fond of this item of hers, or dad really kept this pen with him all the time. She's going to put that in the coffin as well, put this with as well, or put that as well with. We might start going down that route as well. Whereas that should not be the case whatsoever. Again, the topic is diverted, but these are things, and I think this is flower things I mentioned regular basis, but that is because so that we understand there's always new listeners, so new listeners, we hear this for the first time, we are aware of it, we can tell other people, we can save ourselves from it, we can explain to other people as well that look what's right and what is wrong. Because if there are those who do not approach the ulama, there may be those people who listen to us within our families. We may have that rule within our families that people might listen to us, and especially if there is somebody who frequents the masjid, or there is somebody who has some sunnah libas, clothing, that has a beard and that. So within the family as well, that person is then automatically, by default, becomes the Maulana Sahib. Without going to Darul Uloom and spending years studying, that then he becomes the Maulana of that family. And people then consult, which is a good thing as well, that this is a izzat that Allah Ta'ala grants such a person in a family as well. If there's a mayyat or something of that nature, and they want somebody to make dua, they look around, who will say? That person who has a topi on or a beard on, just sit in, they're not going to tell anybody else. The one who looks like the gangster, they're not going to ask him, Ab dua kije. So my kid. But this is really, I just understand. You have this individual being very helpful. सबको कह रहे हैं कलिमा पढ़ो कलिमा पढ़ो. अच्छा ये इस पर वो मसला इस तरह का. देखो अल्लाह ताला कहते हैं जोश बिता. Time है. एक मसला very important. After janaza, when we lift the mayyat, after the janaza salah, or from the hearse or whatever, everybody starts reading by kalima, ashhadu la ilaha illallah, ashhadu la ilaha illallah, whoever passing it on, ashhadu la ilaha, ashhadu la ilaha, ashhadu la ilaha. There is no zikr at all whatsoever when you are lifting the mayyat. There is no la ilaha illallah, ashhadu la ilaha illallah. And this individual is saying, kalima paro, la ilaha, la ilaha, easy, la ilaha, la ilaha, when you dafnawing and you burying the mayyat. Only when the mayyat is on the last, there you give talqeen. You don't tell the mayyat, read the kalima. You do talqeen of the kalima. Talqeen is a reminder of the kalima, which is what those sat nearby, slowly they themselves, lightly, read in the kalima themselves. So that the mayyat now who is going through the pangs of death, when they hear the kalima being recited around, it will remind them to at least also read the kalima. That's talqeen. That's it. That's where you read the kalima. After that, there is no askar or zikr whatsoever until the sunnah Muslim was of when you lower the mayyit in the grave. There is no askar when you lift the mayyit. There's no ashhadu la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. This is not the time for the mayyit is already passed away now. So now you saying la ilaha illallah, that's not going to be of any benefit to the mayyit. And neither is this the time for you to be reciting them because it's not established anywhere at all for this to be the any zikr for when you read them, when you pick up the mayyit. And this is something which is common, very common, very common, very common. So यहाँ बेचारा जो है, he's been very helpful and he's throwing the soil and he's telling people, we read kalima and he's being, I don't know if he was related or not who he was, but at the same time, beचारा, his rear was open each time that he's doing whatever he's going to do and he's helping out doing this, that, but his rear is open as well. His rear is open as well. So, it is these type of things that if you're going to be of that type of dressing, then when the time comes, your family members are not going to ask you to make dua. If there is something they want to know, they're not going to ask that type of person, okay, bhai, what should we be doing? That's why nobody will even listen to this individual. He was trying to be helpful himself, but you need to have knowledge as well. And there are those who are knowledgeable around as well. So even if you just frequent the masjid or you have some sunnah libas, the beard and that, then you become the Maulana of the family. People ask you things. So at least because of that, people will hold you with respect. So at least if you've heard these type of things, you can at least mention to them that when you see them, that look, they browsing on Google or Amazon or whatever else, that look, we need to get granddad, grandma, mom, dad bouquet or something. You can explain that. Okay, how much is it for? And they'll say it is so much. This is the cheapest, is so much. Then you tell him, okay, do this instead. That amount, and explain this to them, just give it in sadaqah. Give it in sadaqah, or give it to me and I'll put it somewhere in sadaqah if you don't know what. And explain to them these type of things. So who knows? One person might get hidayat from you. They'll understand this, they might explain that to somebody else gets hidayat, somebody else gets hidayat. And this goes on, and they've all got this hidayat from one neki that you did by you listening to these things. That's why these things are repeated over and over. Who knows who it really touches? Maybe somebody has already done that. Who have hidayat and will go to the qabristan and they will go and take those things off the qabr. Make dua from that. And do what? Calculate how much is spent and all that, and rather give that amount in sadaqah for the mayyit and make a change of the wrong that we have done as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the understanding of these matters. Give us the opportunity to rectify and do that which is best for us and the marhumeen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, marhumhum al-azam, and all the other marhumeen as well, whoever have passed away in this blessed month of Ramadan, and all the marhumeen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them all maghfirat. Allah ta'ala elevate their ranks. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the blessedness and all the best blessings of the month of Ramadan a means of them being freed from the fire of Jahannam. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. Respectful honorable friends, continuing with the topic of dua, the value of dua, the importance of dua and the etiquettes of dua. As had been mentioned over the previous days, that when we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our duas are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is just how Allah ta'ala accepts is beyond our understanding. When we assume Allah ta'ala accepts our duas, our understanding is that it means that whatever we ask for, exactly that is what should be granted to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, however, does accept our duas, But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our du'as through His wisdom. On knowing what is best for us, accordingly Allah ta'ala accepts our du'as. Where that which we ask for is specifically beneficial for us, then yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant that to us. It may not be necessary that it is granted to us immediately, maybe at some later stage, but Allah ta'ala will grant that to us as how we ask from Him. Where that may not be appropriate for us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not grant that wish of ours, grant that dua of ours here in this world. And I was mentioning this point and then we diverted a little yesterday. But instead Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stores the reward of that for us in the hereafter. Here we may assume, or here we think, that for so many years I've been asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for certain du'as and we're not seeing the fruits of it. And we may think that Allah ta'ala is not accepting these du'as, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is accepting these du'as. Allah ta'ala has accepted those du'as. But just that Allah ta'ala has deemed it better that instead of granting that to us here in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided to grant it to us in the hereafter. So when we go in the hereafter, this will be in the form of reward that we will see in the hereafter. That a person will see a whole load of reward in the hereafter, unaccountable, which is not accounted for. He won't know what he has been given this reward for. And then it will be told to him that this is the reward of all those du'as which had gone unaccepted here in this world. Now, those du'as were not granted here in this world. The reward of that he will see accumulated there in the hereafter. And when he sees that, that's when he will wish that if Allah Ta'ala had not accepted any of his du'as here in this world. And it was a point on here that we went on to the graveyard side, that it is there in the hereafter that we appreciate the jaza that we get in the hereafter. Here when we do good deeds in this world here, the salat we just read now, Asr Salat for instance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us for it. And remember that quality of ihtisab I mentioned previously to you. Each action should be done having yaqeen in the reward that Allah ta'ala will grant us. So the reward is there, but none of us has seen that reward. We've remained hungry the whole day, and at the time of iftari, the reward will be there. The dunyawi reward we know on the Dastur Khan. But the actual reward in the Akhirat, that is also which is guaranteed, but we're not going to see it. An angel does not come and show us or do we get a message or so go on that you can see your account of the Akhirat, log into your Akhirat account, username and password. Username can be our names, but the password there is Iman. Password has to be Iman by default for every moment to get anything there in the hereafter. Without that, there will be nothing at all in the hereafter. So we won't be able to log in and see, okay, today's fast, alhamdulillah, so much reward. Today's Asr, so much reward. Today's Jum'ah, so much reward. Today's Khidmat I did, so much reward. Today's Tilawat, Zikr, so much reward. We won't be able to see that. And because we don't see that, we don't value it as much here in this world. But in the hereafter we will. Like currency as well. Here, what currency do you want? If somebody gives you a gift, and in that gift they're giving you riyals, they're giving you rupees, or they're giving you some other currency which you're not going to and not likely to use here, you may not value that as much because you know that, look, I'm not going to use it here. This is only when and if I do travel to the country, it might be, the value may be a lot as well, but it won't hold any value in your eyes unless you are going to travel there. But if it is in sterling and pound, that's when you're going to value it. In the hereafter, the currency, amal that we do here is a currency of the hereafter, but because we're not in the hereafter, we do not value that currency here in this world. But yes, when that person now was given those riyals, and now he decides that he's going for Umrah or Hajj. That's when he'll now appreciate, Alhamdulillah, person gave me some riyals, so it helps me when I get to the airport. There's something there, at least. Until I actually go to the sarraf, the money exchange. At least I've got something on the way. So you'll appreciate those riyals when you're there in that country. When we go in the akhirat, that's when we will value. Here we will only value that which we're asking why Allah is not granting it to us. But then when we go in the akhirat, that's when we will value all the jaza, the sawab, the reward Allah Ta'ala will give for unanswered du'as of ours. Because the currency there is going to be amal. That's what we told you, amal is all the importance of doing good deeds. With iman, did good deeds. And the good deeds, this is the currency of the hereafter. And if we want to be wealthy and rich in the hereafter, then this is the place where we need to work hard for it. That's the way we work hard here to be wealthy and rich here as well, which we're going to leave behind. If we want to be wealthy and rich in the hereafter, this is the place where we need to work hard for. We wake up early in the morning so that we can be rich and wealthy in this world, so that we get to work and that we earn a living. Same way we have to wake up early as well. We have to make sacrifices. We have to exert ourselves so that we are able to be wealthy and rich in the hereafter as well. And yes, there is no harm in a person being wealthy and rich here in this world. There is no harm in a person working hard here as well. In order to be wealthy and rich, in order for a person to have good of the material of this world, a comfortable home, a comfortable conveyance, comfortable clothing, and good comfortable food, there is no harm in these things as well, in spending time for it. Allah Ta'ala has given us allowance for it. Where it does matter is when the ratio of effort and time for these worldly pursuits outweigh and are more than our efforts and ratio for the akhirah. That's where it becomes concerned. Otherwise, if a person spends time towards dunya and gets the best of dunya as well, has everything good, positive, everything good in dunya, there's no harm in that. But not at the expense of our deen. And dunya is such, to get the right balance is not so easy. To be able to have sufficient dunya and a good dunya as well, and at the same time be doing just as much for akhirat, this is something that needs a lot of effort and hard work as well. It needs also guidance of the mashayikh as well, as to how we are able to lead our lives in such a manner that we are able to make our dunya as well in a comfortable dunya, but not at the expense of the akhirah. This is getting that balance is what is very important. The ratio. And this is something that each individual needs to even look at. That on daily basis, weekly basis, that how much percent of my efforts, endeavors and time went towards dunya and how much towards the akhirah. And as long as it's a case of that we are doing for the akhirah, and the ratio and the balance is of a decent and good amount, then hopefully a person will be successful. And not only that, but his dunya itself will also become his akhirah. His dunya will also become his akhirah. But if we find that our dunya is coming our way at the expense of our akhirat, that's when things in the hereafter on the mizan, on the scales, are not going to be so balanced then. Because there's going to be the balance there, there's going to be the scales there. Amal are going to be put there on the scale there. And those amal are those that we have done here in this world. So the currency of the hereafter is amal as-salih. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us, that Allah ta'ala has granted us this month, wherein we are able to increase our amal and try and boost up our balance. Boost up our balance. And when that is the case, you should do more. I mentioned this in the Alim class assembly this morning. Give an example of students, because they will be breaking up now for the Ramadan holidays. Mentioning to them that during these 2 weeks that they were coming in the mornings to Darul Ulum, they must have found that very difficult, that we have to wake up and come to madrasa. But I mentioned to them, at least you will appreciate that even though you didn't want to, but Zabardasti we brought you to madrasa, so at least you got the reward. And now from Monday there is a morning madrasa. It doesn't mean that you just now sleep the whole afternoon till 1 o'clock. Because that's what happens. 1 o'clock, you can't go beyond that if you go to read your Salat with Jama'ah. And if you don't, then it goes on to 3 o'clock and whatnot, isn't it? So 1 o'clock also. And I mentioned, get your rest. Rest is there. You need to rest. People will need to rest because the nights are short as well. But what I explained to them is, and I explained this and mentioned this generally to us all as well, is that when it is peak season, any workplace, wherein whoever works during that period of time, we're talking about extra pay. December time, for instance, November, December time, Amazon deliveries also. So where there is a great need and it is peak time, they need more work there. So if Amazon was to, or anybody workplace, now increase the pay during a period of time and go into double pay, would a person decrease the hours or a person will increase the hours? Everyone will be there, I want more hours. Each one will be asking. When normally want less hours, now the whole workforce is got increase my hours, increase my hours. Why you want to increase your hours? Because the pay is increasing. So when the pay has been doubled or increased, you want to increase your work hours as well to make as much as possible. In the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has increased the wages, has increased the pay sky high. It is sky high. So when that is the case, we should also be doing what? We should also be putting the hours in and not wanting to reduce the hours. If we just spend the day and the majority of the time is sleeping it out, and the Arabic khutbah as well, that there will be those of us who waste the month of Ramadan by just sleeping away in the month of Ramadan. The majority of it is better than committing sin, but we're not actually doing anything beneficial in it, where we can gain reward by just sleeping away for too many hours. So in the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases the status, the reward, the wages are high, sky high. So when that is the case, we would also want what? That we want to put in more hours. And happily put in more hours, knowing that the more hours we are going to put in, the more reward we're going to get. Normal days outside the month of Ramadan, we may not be reading all our salats, we might just read 1 or 2 salats in the day. Here when you know that 1 salat is equivalent to 70 minimum, that is, then why not get all your 5 salats in? Although this is the example, unfortunately, we have to give in our environment. But when we are addressing Muslims, we're not supposed to be giving the example of farz, because farz salat, you do not expect any moment to be foregoing any farz salat as it is. The 5 daily salat should be there, irrelevant of whether it is the month of Ramadan or not. Not that we're just doing it in the month of Ramadan for the sake of the reward. So that should be there as it is. It's just that Allah Ta'ala increases the reward for it. It is the nawafil that we should really be addressing and talking about. That in normal days we may not be reading as much nafal salat in that, but in the months of Ramadan at least increase your nafal intake, so that the reward there, that each nafal that you're going to do, that's going to then be the reward of what? A farz salat in the month of Ramadan. And these examples, this which is mentioned as 70 times, this is just as an example for us. Like we know the number 1, the amount 1 compared to 70, it's a comparison, isn't it? We understand that look, 70 is 69 times more than 1. So it is quite a large amount more than just the 1. So in the same way, in the hadith, where these examples are given, and in Arabic as it is, 70 is usually used for kasra. Kasra means for a large amount, excessive amount. So 70 doesn't mean 70 in the form of 70, but it means a large amount. So this 70 isn't 60, 68, 69, 70, it means a large amount. And when we talk about large amount, amounts and large amounts also depend upon the giver as well. Also depends on the one who gives as well. Somebody who has only so much, they will also give a big amount, but their big amount is going to be restricted to how much they already have. And somebody has more, their big amount that they give. So one will say, look, I give a big amount, but he gave a big amount from what he has. The other gave a big amount from what he has. So he has more, so his big amount is going to be more. He has less, so his big amount is going to be less. Here the big amount we're talking about who? We're talking about the big amount from that Zat and that being who has no such thing as being less or deficient at all in his treasures, that is the giving that we are talking about. That here the giver is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when Allah ta'ala gives, Allah ta'ala does not fear at all that He is going to run out of giving. We will fear that we are going to run out of how much we are able to give. Stockpiles are going to go low and eventually we will run out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, warehouses, restaurants, they have to keep an eye on these things. How much, what's the level of stock, what the level of stock is. Allah ta'ala doesn't need to. Allah ta'ala grants, I mentioned that a couple of days ago. The whole woman, every single person, from the time of Saint Adam till the end, every desire, every need of his, after Allah ta'ala does not need to look at all towards the stockpile and look, where am I at? Why? Because there will be no, not even an iota of any deficiency or reductions in the stockpile of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah Ta'ala is giving 70 is not what we assume as 70. Only Allah Ta'ala knows best how much that will be for us, my dear friends. Look at that Kareem, how Kareem Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. How giving Allah Ta'ala is. How loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is upon His servants. And this 70 figure is a minimum. Maximum, nothing has been mentioned at all. Minimum this is, and then according to what? According to the concentration that a person does in the ibadat, the ikhlas that a person does in the ibadat, the qurbani that a person does in the ibadat, according to all of this standard, that ratio of maximum will fluctuate, it will change. And there will be there is no peak at all to it. There is no cutoff or a cap to what? To the amount that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give. And this is what? This is just on one salah that a person performs in the month of Ramadan. Never mind the nawafil, the zikr the person does, the tilawah that a person does, and all the other naked good that a person does throughout the month of Ramadan. We're not even taking that into account. So just imagine how much a person can accumulate just in this 1 month alone. But the value of that, my dear friends, it is something we will only appreciate where we will only appreciate this there in the hereafter. When we go in the hereafter, that's when we will appreciate these things. But because we're not going to see these things, there are those of us who are neglecting to this. We are in deception of this world. माना कि दुनिया खूबसूरत है, लेकिन उसकी हकीकत पता चलेगी कब्र में. No matter how beautiful, माना कि दुनिया हसी है. The world here, this world is beautiful, very rangeen as well, attractive as well, one that a person is inclined towards. We see all the inclination of this world, the attraction and the husn of this world. But the haqiqat and the reality of the world will only open up to us when it will only open up to us in the grave. Now then when we go into the grave, that's when we will actually know and then we'll understand the reality. Sometimes you have a sweet or food substance, chocolate or something, then the wrapper is one that is very appealing, nicely designed, colorful, and looks very interesting. Whatever the contents are as well looks very large and looks very nice as well. So you look at that and you fall for the thing that this is going to be something very good. And then when you open it up, when you actually open it up, the picture was nice and large. And when you open it up, it's only a small piece of chocolate or small biscuit or so. But it looked so large. But then you open it up, it's not so. When you look at it, maybe something seems so juicy in the manner in which it has been designed. And then when you eat it, it's alright. It looks so tempting and it looks so appealing. It looks so tempting and so appealing, but when you actually taste it, it's just alright. Meaning, you're deceived by the cover. The wrapper deceived you, and it didn't turn out to be as it is. And this is the haqiqat of dunya. We won't know that here in this world, but when we go into the grave, that's when we will understand that dunya was what it was, just a deception. Ab pata chala ki it isn't what it showed it to be. Nothing. What it showed it to be, that haqiqat, that reality will open when you open the wrapper and you eat it. When the wrapper of the earth is opened up and we are put into the ground, that's when we will understand the haqiqat and the reality of this world. But fortunate, my dear friends, are those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants them some understanding already here in this world. Now they understand that yes, for sure, dunya is there, dunya is appealing, it is tempting and everything as well. But let us also, we understand as well that look, at the same time, there is another abode which, when we get to that abode, that is going to be more appealing and much better to this world, wherein this world cannot even compare to that abode. But for that, we're going to have to use this abode here to do something with regard to our benefit in that abode. Those who understand that are those who at least will stay away from all the haram attractions of this world and do as much as possible with regards to make the akhirat a beneficial place for them. And if we just look at all the attractions of this world, become glued to the attractions of this world, inclined towards the attractions of this world, and that is all it is. We just want to look beautiful. And in looking beautiful, it means that we flaunt all the ahkam of hijab. We flaunt all the sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Just so that we look beautiful. We give him preference to what? We give him preference to this world. We have the desire to commit haram, the temptation to commit haram. The inclination is there, and everything around it looks so tempting and looks so beautiful as well, looks so pleasurable as well. And for the sake of that fulfillment of that pleasure, a person goes and carries out that disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, that is what, for just a temporary moment here in this world, where we have succumbed to the desires and temptations in this world to forego the hereafter. It is those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them this understanding and reality that the temptation is there for sure. But it is not a temptation that we should be fulfilling if we want that we want a fulfilling hereafter. We understand that at this moment in time we may not be up to fasting. We do not feel to fast. But we know that if we want to be successful, we want our grave to be a place of success, then we're going to have to make that qurbani and fast in the month of Ramadan, whether we like it or not, whether we want to or not. We're tired, we don't want to go for Isha Salat, we don't want to read our Isha Salat, we don't want to read Taraweeh. But if we want that akhirat of ours is going to be a blissful and good place for us, then we're going to have to do these things. We're going to have to do these type of things. We don't want to wake up for Fajr Salah. We want to sleep in. But we know that if we do sleep in, yes, that sleeping in the morning and not reading your Fajr Salah is all part of the beauty of this world, the comfort of this world. So sleep in here. You've slept in for how long? You've slept in, okay, for a few hours extra. You got that sleep here. But because of that, you're going to make your sleep there in the grave one which is going to be hard and difficult. And I mentioned this to the Bukhari class as well. Because this is the place we need to make qurbani. This is the place to make qurbani. When you go to sleep, who enjoys sleep? The person who is tired will enjoy sleep. Now that person who slept the whole day, has slept the whole day, they've slept till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock some places, so that is very late as well. So that is very late as well. And this is a different matter as well. Should you be delaying salat so much for the sake of people? To the extent that you go towards the non-masnoon time and you go into the makruh times, and that just so that so many people can get first Jummah, second Jummah, third Jummah, fourth Jummah, fifth Jummah. People are going to be lazy all the time. How long are you going to start delaying? Now you just say, okay, have Qaza Jummah as well, with Jamaat. If you're going to delay, people are going to delay. If you're going to keep it at these times, people are going to work around those times and they're going to then be there for it, isn't it? Here and there, a bit of flexibility within the masnoon time is quite understandable. You can make that about concession for people. But in this manner, wherein we just keep on delaying so much, so there'll be Zohar Salat maybe 4 o'clock as well, somewhere in Zohar, in summer time and that. But for who? Isn't it? So then what's going to happen? Who's going to go there? It is those people who want to sleep till 3 o'clock, till 3:45, who'll get up and then go for Zohar. They will get at 4 o'clock. You can just accommodate it, but you're giving them more of an excuse to sleep till 4 o'clock. Whereas if you're going to keep it within the frame where it should be, then people are going to they need to get up and go for it. Then that's a different matter itself. People don't like being touched, these type of things. But it needs to be touched, and it will be touched when it needs to be as well. Who's going to, if not nobody does, then who is going to? And as I mentioned to you, that person who slept till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, who slept half the day, now they maybe sleeps a little in the afternoon as well. When the time of sleeping comes at night, are they going to enjoy the sleep? They're not going to be able to sleep, isn't it? And they're going to say, I'm not feeling tired, I can't sleep. Why you can't sleep? Because you slept enough throughout the day, so you can't sleep now at night. Whereas, because you've slept the whole time, you haven't done anything, you just slept. Whereas that person who woke up and has work, and they've been working throughout the day, now when time to sleep comes, they're going to be tired. So when they're going to be tired, they're going to enjoy putting their heads down on that bed and that pillow, and they're going to enjoy that sleep. This is what you call a sweet sleep. Neen meaty. When your sleep is now meaty for you, it is sweet for you because that is the time you want to sleep. You've been traveling the whole day, late at night you've come home, you want that sleep. So in the same way, who will enjoy the sleep in the grave? Those who have worked throughout their lives. Work, not dunya work. Those who have worked only for the akhirat. Those who have made qurbani for the akhirat, for them when they go into the grave, then it's nam salih. Then their sleep is going to be enjoyable sleep because now there's no waking up for Fajr Salah. Now there's no more tahajjud. There's no waking up for Fajr Salah. There is no exerting yourself. There's no fasting. There is nothing of that. Now is asleep, aram se. To that extent, that there are those servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that when they are there in the grave, when they see the enjoyment of the grave, and when they see the fruits of what their good deeds have granted them, then in the grave as well they will want to continue doing those things as well. That there will be those who will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that allow us to read the Quran to pass our time in the grave. Allow us to read the Quran, allow us to do this neki and that neki as well. So that because of the fact that these were the neki that brought them and granted them the enjoyments and the fruits that they see there in the grave, that they won't want to even leave that there in the grave. However, the good news is that now they won't be, nobody is going to come to the grave. Nobody is going to come to your grave and say, Fajr Giti. Nobody is going to come and say to you, read this surah, do this. Look, it's the start of the month of Ramadan. Those in the grave will already know it's the start of the month of Ramadan. And especially those who are in difficulty will be waiting when the month of Ramadan comes, because in the month of Ramadan the azab in the grave is ceased. So they will be yearning, wanting that. And if we want that we are not in that category, then this is the time Allah has given us, this is life Allah Ta'ala has given us, not to take for granted and just to marinate, so that we can make that grave of ours a blissful one. That we don't need to wait for the month of Ramadan for the alleviation of azab. That our deeds, Allah Ta'ala makes that a means of our protection from the azab of the grave. That is, this is a place where we are able to do that, to make that boat a comfortable one. So nobody is going to come there and tell us to wake up. Why? Because you're waking up here in this world enable you to be able to sleep nicely there in the grave. The fasting here in this world, as I mentioned in Jummah today and yesterday as well, that as-salatu nurun. So salat you read here will be nur for you in the grave, where you feel with regards to the darkness of the grave, that how it may be, but it is this nur of salat that will be there. In the hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala mentions that when a person will be in the grave, then a person's good deeds will come in the form of a beautiful individual who will give us company there in the grave. So our amal here will be in a form, represented in a form of a human being, either in a nice appearance or in a very frightening appearance there in the grave. And whatever azab is given to us in the grave, this will also be what? Of whatever sins we did here, that will be given a bodily form, and that is what will be punishing us in the form of the serpent or whatnot. As Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala mentioned in the hadith as well, that wealth that a person had here in this world and did not give zakat, on the day of Qiyamah, that wealth will become a serpent. And that too, Aqra, a serpent which is bold. Zabibatan, with two black dots above its eye. This is an indication of it being very venomous. that it holds within it so much venom that it has no hair on it at all. That it has no hair on its body at all. So snakes have hair as well, not maybe as hairy as other animals. But because it is so venomous, there is no hair, let's just call it the serpent will be bone. And this will chase behind a person. And one seeing it will flee from it, and the serpent will say, Ana kanzuka, ana kanzuka, ana maluka. That why are you running away from me for? I am the same balance of yours. I am the same business of yours. I am the same wealth of yours which you hoarded, you kept, and you did not pay zakat on. That is what, here you run behind me. You held me so close to you. Now why do you run behind me? Ana maluka, ana kanzuka. I am your mal. I am your account. Why are you running away from me for? And this serpent will then grab this individual by his jaw, and that will be the punishment, meaning that the mal and wealth will be in the form of this animal, of the serpent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give it a representative form in such a manner, our deeds in the hereafter. So if we want the things that are good for us there in the grave, then we need to do good deeds here in this world. This is the place. The amal, the jaza, we may not appreciate it here, but in the hereafter, that is where we will appreciate it. So this person now, when he will see that all his good deeds are there, for what? For the du'as that were not granted here in this world, he will say and wish that if only none of my du'as were accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all, that I would have more currency in the hereafter, I would be wealthier in the hereafter. And in another hadith where Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explains this and mentions this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you the reward of it in the hereafter. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala then said to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if that is the case, then idhan naksuru, then we will increase making dua. And if that is the case, then we're not going to let it go. This is the Sahaba kiram radiallahu ta'ala. Any opportunity of good, they will not let it go. We want to make as many excuses to let it go. So 8 is allowed, isn't it not? We'll be asking that, isn't it? So is it alright? Are you still sinful if you read 8 rakats? Instead of going for the 20, we still want to try and somehow the other justify reducing it. Isn't it? Is this the first sufficient and I can do without eating the student before or after salah? Is that sufficient or not? Is it okay if I just give zakat and I don't do any nafal sadaqah also in the month of Ramadan? So we just want to try and how we can reduce it. And the Sahaba Kiram radiallahu ta'ala, this was how we can increase it. So here when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned this, the Sahaba said, idhan naksuru. If that is the case, then we're going to increase our du'as more and more. Allah, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahu aktharu. It doesn't matter. You increase your du'as, Allah will increase as well in His giving as well. So you're increasing as well, you're not make any difference to Allah Ta'ala. You increase your giving, Allah will increase His giving. You increase your dua, and Allah Ta'ala will increase His giving as well. So when that is the case, it means that we should ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, I'll delay the third reward for tomorrow if Allah Ta'ala desires and wishes. The third manner in which dua is accepted by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But from this we understand Allah Ta'ala gives us what we ask for. If not, Allah Ta'ala rewards us for us. That is granted to us in the hereafter. So we should ask from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because we know that those du'as are going to not go in vain. It's going to be rewarded. We're going to see the fruits of it. Ask Allah Ta'ala. And if we feel as well that if that's the case, then when I ask Allah Ta'ala, I wouldn't get about 10 things that I ask for. It's only 5, 6, 10 things that I ask for. So from that, if maybe 5 are granted for me and 5 are not granted for me, then there's only going to be 5 things that Allah Ta'ala is going to reward me in the hereafter. Then there's not much that I'm leaving for the hereafter. Especially when things are going to be granted here anyway. And the others I'm asking for is with regards to akhirah, that's going to be granted in the akhirah. Then that means what? That means what? That means that increase your list. Then that means increase your list. And with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, by all means, the more money you have in your pocket, your shopping list will be accordingly. The less money you have, you're going to reduce your shopping list. You're going to be budgeting, there isn't cutting costs and things as well, isn't it? And where you have, your list will be more as well. Never mind, it's okay, include that as well. Can we include that? कोई बात ले लो, बच्चों को ये चाहिए ले लो कोई बात नहीं, उसको ये चाहिए ले लो कोई बात नहीं. You do the same here as well, isn't it? बच्चे को ये चाहिए अल्लाह से मांग लो, फुला को ये चाहिए वो मांग लो अल्लाह ताला से, मुझे ये चाहिए वो मांग लो, उसको ये चाहिए वो मांग लो. Increase your shopping list. Increase your shopping list with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the larger shopping list you have, and from there, the more that's not going to be granted to you here in this world, you can get the benefit of it in the hereafter. So it's win after all, isn't it? You're still going to get whatever you wanted, and better than that as well. And this is the habit we should ask us. We should not restrict with Allah Ta'ala. If we're going to restrict, restriction from that side as well. There should be no restriction in asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why I mentioned, you ask even a small thing. Even if your shoe is break, ask that from Allah Ta'ala. Ask whatever your needs are in this world. And do not even think that this is related to dunya. No, ask for dunya. Ask as much as you want for dunya. As long as what you're asking for is not haram. That's the only rule in there. Condition is you're not asking for something which is going to be harming somebody else and it is not haram, then ask whatever you want to ask for with regards to, with related to your dunya. Allah Ta'ala wants us to ask from Him, ask all these things from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala gives us all the opportunity and the understanding as well. And at the same time, in the month of Ramadan, time is allowed for you to do dua now. Sometimes we go a bit early on as well. But that doesn't mean that this is the only time for dua in the month of Ramadan as well. This isn't just the time for dua. In fact, this time is very short for dua. This time can only be sufficient if there's no program at all after Asr, then you have enough time to make dua. Otherwise, this time is not sufficient. And not only that, but this time is also one. Duas are accepted throughout the month of Ramadan. But this time may be also a time wherein a person may not be so focused in his dua as well. Because this is a time wherein a person is quite hungry and a bit tired mentally and physically as well. If you're not, then the speaker definitely is anyway. So this might be a time wherein a person may not be so focused in asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it means that do not just restrict your asking at this time of the day. Take out other time during the day as well to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you're fresh and you have time at hand as well. Allah Ta'ala grant us all the understanding. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Then you all owe me dua as well. If you're going to follow what's been said as well, then you need to make dua as well, isn't it, for those who gives you the advice as well, isn't it? And of course,